Welcome to the yoga method. This is a brief upper body strengthening class which will help anything else in your life that you're working towards, whether it's your yoga practice, strength training, or just functional mobility for everyday living. So come and join me on your mat as soon as you're ready. No equipment needed, just working with body weight, please. So taking 4-point kneeling, and let's just warm up our wrists very briefly. So shoulders stacking over your elbows, over your wrists, spreading your fingers, and we want to grip with the fingers so we're not pan-kicking the hands. It's an active gripping. Sometimes they call it cupcaking, sometimes spider fingers, but we want to use the intrinsic muscles of our hands as we're strengthening through our shoulders. But let's just begin with a gentle shift forward and back. So just as the ankle needs to be mobile, so does the wrist joint. But the wrist joint also requires, just like the lower limb, to be strong. So shoulder issues quite often will show themselves not only in shoulder pain, but elbow pain and wrist pain as well. So anything we can do to promote a little bit more strength through the shoulder joint, and in conjunction, our core as well, will definitely complement all the movement practices and just activities of daily living. One more little shift forward, and then please just see if you can spin your wrist the other way. Now for some of us, one hand will be more than enough, and if it's possible, you might explore doing both at the same time. But notice what happens to your neck and shoulders when you do that. So can you keep your neck long, your shoulders away from your ears? And I'll invite you to rock gently backwards and forwards. So if you're finding one hand is what is possible for you today, I'll tell you when to switch. So even though we're focusing on wrist mobility, I want you to make sure that your pelvic floor is gently engaged with your navel gently drawing towards your spine so that your abdominals are supporting this movement. If you've got one hand only, please swap for me now. Breathing in as we shift back. Breathing out to return. Whew. A little breath in. A little breath out. Recheck your chin, recheck your shoulders, recheck your core. And let's take 2 more, please. So one hand or both. Doesn't matter, just meeting your body where it is. And once you've completed this last one, just release your toes, sit back, and roll through your wrists. So just wrist circles, and opposite direction when you're ready. Okay, so first working exercise. If you are having wrist issues, you can do majority of these movements from your forearm as well. So option 1, we're just working on a little tiny hover here. So elbows are not locked. There's a tiny bit of softness in the elbow joint. I'm pressing fiercely into my hands, and I've got my spider cupcake fingers happening. My shoulders are drawing away from my ears, but at the same time, I'm thinking angry cat between my shoulder blades. And the lift of the abdominal wall. So gravity will want your abdominals just to collapse, but we are going to keep lifting the abdominals towards the spine. Taking one more full breath in before gently releasing out. Take a moment to stand tall on your knees, press your pelvis, and just slide your right hand towards your left knee just to give you a little bit of a breather. I'll spin this way. So variation 1, variation 2. Rolling open through the left side of the torso, flooding the breath in. One more breath. Easing your way up and over to the other side. So option 1, just leaving that hand on the hip. But you'll notice the moment you laterally flex, the pelvis will want to shift back. So keep pressing your pelvis forward as you gently explore, opening through the right side of the torso. Glutes are on, core is on, breath is deep. So even though we're stationary, this is not passive. One more full breath in and gently releasing out. So returning to that same position, whether you did it on your hands or your forearms, it's the exact same engagement of muscles. And the second stepping stone, if you feel like you need a little extra, is we're going to start the same way. Angry cat, sky bear, come on this side, all the way over, all the way over. Stay right there. Good girl. She's had her breakfast, but she's very determined to get a little bit extra anytime the opportunity arises. Being a Labrador, so press dynamically, lift your knees, option 1 on your hands or your forearms, variation 2 on your in-breaths and your right leg long, and on your exhalation, just lightly land. Ready, second side, inhaling. So nothing is changing through the upper body. And we're using the legs to really challenge our shoulder and our core stability. The added bonus is when we extend a leg, we're also engaging the glutes at the same time. So belly strong as we breathe in and lengthen through the right, angry cat. Exhaling to gently land. Reset, left leg lengthening without compromising through your lower back. Gently release down. Reset. One more on each side. Right leg lengthening on the in-breath. Exhale to gently land. Reset. One more time. Lengthen, pause, hold before gently releasing both knees and releasing your efforts. Stand tall again. Tuck your tail. Right hand towards your right thigh or left hand reaching overhead. How dynamically can you engage your glutes and your core while flooding the breath in to your left lung? One more. And then easing your way up and over. A tuck of the tail, a lift of the pelvic floor, so that we're purely moving into lateral flexion, adding the top arm only if your shoulder will allow. How deeply can you breathe into your right lung? For 3. For 2, one more tuck of your tail, one more lift of your pelvic floor. One more goodbye breath in and out, easing our way up and out of that shape. So coming back one last time into this 4-point kneeling position. So please just checking that your hands are shoulder distance. And now this time I'd like for you to bring your legs long. So 3 stepping stones here. Variation 1, you're holding statically in your angry cat shape between your shoulder blades with your legs engaged, your glutes engaged. Variation 2, on your in-breath, crossing your ankle, left over right. And on the exhalation, return. Inhaling right over left, belly strong, eyes steady. Exhale, return. So anytime you need a break, I want you just to land your knees and maybe even take child's pose. So variation 1, you're just holding statically, which is still dynamically. Variation 2, crossing left over right. And on the exhalation, open, reset. Crossing right over left. Exhaling, open, reset. Let's do one more on each side. Left over right. Press, pause, hold. Open and release. One more time. Press, pause, and hold before gently landing the knees. And let's all take child's pose, please. So letting the upper body soften. Bend your elbows as much as you need so your shoulders really relax. 4 breaths. Melting through your lats, your rhomboids, softening through your rotator cuff muscles, your trapezius. And laying some love on your teres major, your teres minor. So many wonderful, amazing muscles. And when you're ready, one last time coming into that shape. So again, just stressing that you can do the same movement patterns from your forearms if you have any wrist issues. So variation 1, We are statically staying in a high plank or a forearm plank. Variation 2, on the in-breath, we're crossing left over right, and on the exhalation, we're opening. Inhale, right leg over left, thinking angry cat, and returning. Variation 3, adding a breath. So it's an inhale to cross over, an exhale to bring your left knee towards your left tricep, an inhale to recross, and an exhale to open. Inhale, right over left. Exhale, right knee towards your right tricep. Inhaling to return the leg. And exhale to open. 4 more. Rest if you need. Crossing over, pause. Shifting weight forward, pause. Crossing the ankle again, reset. And holding just for the exhalation. Inhale, right over left. Exhale to shift, pause, hold. Inhaling to recross. Exhaling to land. 2 more. Crossing over. Shaky arms are good things, right? Shift, pause, hold. Crossing, pause, hold. Release and open. This is the last one. In it together. Hang in there. Ready? Knee towards the elbow. Inhaling to cross. Exhaling to release. And land your knees. And please just give your arms a little crisscross, getting the blood flowing back through there as you release the lactic acid that was building. Lactic acid is a beautiful thing for the body and the mind. But we definitely know that we're doing something when we feel that sensation. Please interlace your fingers behind you. And if your knees are not appreciating kneeling, you could do the exact same thing here. So taking a moment in either shape, just reaching knuckles away so that you're broadening across the collarbones, really opening through the pec, so pec minor and pec major, and definitely opening through the front deltoid. Take 2 more breaths. Knuckles to the floor, heart to the ceiling, lift the chin a little, 1 more breath before gently releasing the arms. One last working posture, please. We are moving into a downward facing dog. So it's one of the most common postures in yoga, but it's definitely one of the most challenging ones. So we want to grip with our fingers, think geckos. So gecko fingers, and our hands are shoulder distance. And once I begin to lift my pelvis, I'm shifting my weight back, so my arms are actually moving into shoulder flexion. So this is shoulder flexion, right? So I want you to really think about pushing down into your hands and pushing back. So we're creating maximal length through the arms. The thumbs are squeezing towards the midline, and we're slightly externally rotating the upper arm. So that just means you're rolling your shoulder joints slightly open through the upper arm. Now, as we gaze at our feet, they're hip distant. And I'd love for you to think about squeezing your heels towards the midline. So there's a spiral through your quadriceps. So arms are long and super strong and engaged. Legs are long, but we can bend the knees as much as we need so that the spine stays in a good position. So option 1, we are just staying in a down dog. If we have a little less mobility through our shoulder joint, this is crazy challenging. So at some point, they say that this becomes a place of rest and recovery. But when you are first beginning yoga, this is a very strong, strengthening position. Your head is down, your bum is up, you can't see what's happening, but you are struggling just a little bit to hold this shape as we first move into practice. How does 1 more breath sound? And then please gently release out of that shape. Take a moment just to release your arms. I'd like for you to interlace your fingers. Press your palms forward, rounding through your back. And then take your hands overhead as far as your shoulders will allow. See if you could maybe lift your chin a little bit. And then one last time, circling your arms down and around. Interlace your fingers, take your knuckles towards the floor, send your heart towards the ceiling. And if your knee joint just doesn't like that much flexion, you could absolutely come into a kneeling position instead. Last 2 breaths. One more, please. And then gently, gently release. So one last time in our downward facing dog. Variation 1, we're staying stationary and resting when we need. Variation 2, we'll do a push-up position in that shape. So the perfect setup for a down dog is from child's pose. We walk the hands forward. We check that they're shoulder distance apart. We grip with our fingers, and we're already engaging through our arms. And then we tuck the toes and we lift the hips. So option 1, this is where you're staying for as long as it's available for you. Variation 2, we walk the feet in a little bit closer, and the further we bring the feet, the more we're taking weight into the shoulder joint. So on your in-breath, you'll lift to the tips of your toes, shifting your shoulders over your wrists, and on your exhalation, you'll gently shift back. So this is variation 2, just a weight shift, and then gently landing. Variation 3, we're going to stay on the tips of the toes, take a breath in together, and on the exhalation, bend your elbows. So the forehead, or the crown of the head, I should say, never, ever needs to find the floor. You're just maybe creating a little tiny micro bend and then lengthening. So over time, the elbow bend becomes deeper. The range of motion gets larger because the muscles have the ability to support the range of motion. So we're only taking ourselves through the range of motion that our body can control. I want you to feel challenged. So adversity, challenges is how the body grows. It's how we grow as people, right? But there is a point where we can ask too much of our bodies. So please just really tune into your body. Find that fine line between effort and ease. And find that razor's edge where the body is feeling really challenged, but you are still feeling safe and completely in control. There's 2 remaining. Rise to the tips of the toes, a little bend through the elbows, press back, a little shift, 1 more. Breathe in, exhale, inhale, and release. I'd love for you to turn to the long edge of your mat. Bring your feet super, super wide. Inhale to lengthen through your arms, your legs, your spines. And then please just ease your way in for a moment. Just see if you can reach your calves, your Achilles, or your heels. And I'd like for you to use that as an anchor to just draw yourselves in a tiny bit more. Now you're pressing into the outer edge of your feet. You're using the strength of your arms and the strength of your core to draw yourselves inwards. So from the outside in, this looks passive, but it is not. We're using our legs, we're using our arms, we're using our core, but our primary focus is our breath. Last 2. 1 more full deep breath in and out. Please press the earth away, lifting through your head, through your hearts, and walk your hands just gently over to your right ankle. Again, bend your knees as much as you need. Gently draw the torso across the midline. And if your right shoulder will allow, just loop it into the curve of your lower back. Gazing to the floor, or maybe taking a little bit of rotation through your neck and looking over your right shoulder for 3 breaths. For 2. 1 more full deep breath in And on your exhalation, return your eye gaze. Please ground your hands, bend into your right knee. And I'd like for you to turn your right toes out. Left hand to the earth, right hand to your knee, or once again, just taking the opportunity to stretch through the chest, through the shoulders, and maybe through our neck. So pressing down in order to lift to revolve. Please feel free to keep looking at the earth. Last two. One more deep, beautiful breath in before gently releasing the hand. Come back to the midline, recenter your feet, and now just the hands move towards your left ankle. Draw the torso across the midline. And only if your left shoulder will allow, reaching high, flip the thumb, curve of the back. Begin to spiral through your lower back, middle back, and maybe even your neck, gazing over your left shoulder, finding length, strength, and connection to our breath for 3, for 2, and for 1. Return your eyes, return your hands. Please turn your left toe slightly out. Take your knee over your second and your third toe. Right hand on the earth, left hand on the thigh. Really awaken the right leg as you turn your chest. And then only if your shoulder will allow, reach high. And that opportunity to gaze skywards. Last 2. One more smooth, deep breath in. And on the exhalation, just pause with both hands on the earth ever so briefly. Ready? Ease your way to the top and gently landing into your knees. Taking just a quiet moment, either in child's pose or in thunderbolt, hero pose. Hands resting on the knees, closing down the eyes. Hands can remain on your thighs, or if you'd like to bring them to prayer. Just feeling the warmth in your body, the strength of your body. And as always, we pause to celebrate our efforts. Science tells us that it is critical to celebrate all the small gains, all the small victories throughout our day, rather than waiting for some summit moment. Celebrate every tiny little victory, cultivating this compassion, cultivating this sense of willpower and resilience, and most importantly, cultivating this sense of friendship, of loving kindness to ourselves, to our bodies. With one more full deep breath filled with gratitude for this day, this lifetime, and this body, we end our class, our practice, with a bow. Namaste, beautiful crew. Thank you for joining me for your upper body conditioning, and I hope to see you soon.